Big 1520 across central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest in studio this morning is Curt Homann. He is with the Warner Hospital Foundation Board of Directors. The WHOW Morning Show, by the way, streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Good morning, Curt. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Seth. Always good to be in.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in, folks. Curt probably recognized you from the last, 6 or so months that you've been stopping in on Friday mornings talking about DCDC. You're going to put a different hat on today, talking about the Hospital Foundation. So kind of decipher those two roles for us this morning.
Absolutely. So my position really in the county is a dual role with, of course, the director of DeWitt County Development Council, which very happy to obviously serve that role, but just as equally as happy as the director for the Warner Hospital Foundation. So both of those started about approximately the same time. We had discussions, or I had discussions with both groups, and it really made a good fit.
Sure.
So
now, is there overlap in those two roles at all from your perspective?
There's really a lot of overlap, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So for the most part, I'm conversing with businesses with the DCDC role, and really need to do that with the Warner Hospital role for supporting the hospital. But a perfect example of that, from DCDC perspective, an individual that's looking from outside of the community that's looking to invest in Clinton and DeWitt County was really pleased to know that there was a hospital here. And in turn, that was one of the deciding factors to come into DeWitt County, take a look around. They still haven't made that investment yet. Hopefully they will.
Right.
But absolutely, the overlap is critical.
Interesting stuff. I guess I never would have thought that there could be so much intersection. I really thought it'd be kind of two different roles, and you dedicate some of your time to one and some of the time to the other. So
a strong hospital says a lot about the community.
How so?
Yeah. So a strong hospital will bring a lot of folks to the community, whether visiting patients or for appointments or those types of things. So it really just builds the economic base of a community. Absolutely.
I see. Gotcha. Interesting stuff. Well, now tell us about the Warner Hospital Foundation, Curt, because it's been some time since we've been able to get connected with the foundation and really have a strong relationship with them. So excited to have this partnership with you once again. Tell us about the Hospital Foundation. What's its role? What do you do? How do you serve the hospital? How about some of those things?
Sure. So the foundation is an all-volunteer foundation, and that has made there's been a little bit of turnover recently, and in the past year or so, and some new members have come in and really wanted to forward the foundation, and the hospital itself does need funds that the foundation can help provide. So the foundation's arm is really to raise funds to support the hospital,
right?
And
sure.
That's what they need to do, and typically these are items that the hospital would not be able to secure otherwise. They just would not have the funds in the day-to-day operation.
Sure.
So,
yeah, and perhaps you've heard this before. Perhaps this might be a newer question for you, but playing devil's advocate a little bit. People hear Paul Skowron on our show oftentimes talk about how great of a financial situation the hospital is in, how well they're doing, and they say, well, why does the hospital need a foundation to support them in purchases, that they can, may not be able to afford when they're doing so well financially? How about that?
Yeah, I've heard that question a lot, actually, in this role and in prior roles. But and it's a really legitimate public, a really legitimate question from the public.
Okay.
And it's critical that the hospital is doing well financially, and that keeps the doors opening, helps expand some services. The foundation really is the icing on the cake. So it's really the in many cases the specialty equipment that could set Warner Hospital apart from other areas in terms of access to services that may not be relatively easy. So those dollars are important. And I know it's hard for people to, if they get a hospital bill, they're like, oh my gosh, how much that seems to be. But I can assure you, on an operational perspective, there's a lot of money spent at the hospital. So really the extra items go straight to those extra items.
Right.
So the extra donations, go straight to extra items that really, really, truly support the growth of the hospital.
And I don't know how deep into a conversation you want to get about this, but I do know you've got experience kind of in this kind of realm of directing a hospital foundation. Do you mind speaking to that at all?
Sure. I had a previous role with an area hospital, Gibson Area Hospital, and I did this exact same thing for 4 to 5 years. And we took. You can look at an average donation, and in that 4 to 5 year period, it quadrupled in dollars that were there. We work on grants a lot, but I can assure you, Gibson Area Hospital as a bigger hospital group still heavily relied on the foundation funds, and those foundation funds really helps build a hospital.
Sure,
absolutely.
Sure. So how does Curt, the hospital foundation, raise money? And those sorts of things. Like, what does it do through the course of a year to make sure that they have funds that they can support the Warner Hospital?
Yeah, in many cases, it's just in the past, I would say with Warner Hospital Foundation, it's been a lot of word of mouth, and maybe the hospital has been really important to an individual or an individual family, and they've taken upon themselves to donate funds. So Warner Hospital is really, I'm the first person that is being paid, in that role. And realistically, the donation levels, we're going to talk more and more about the donation levels in years come, but there's a couple of events coming up here pretty quickly. Actually, 1 June, we're going to do a Glow Bingo event and a golf outing in September. So those are both great opportunities for people to actually have a lot of fun and help a great cause.
Sure. Yeah, I remember many years ago when we would have the foundation in to talk pretty regularly. They were doing fundraising efforts like bingo and other. I'm off the top of my head, I'm not remembering exactly what they do, but I remember they would have fundraising efforts. Of course, as folks navigated through COVID and maybe the ebbs and flows of the just the natural progression of a board, maybe those things fell off a little bit. What is the trend that you've noticed as you look back on the hospital foundation as it relates to fundraising and those sorts of things?
Well, really, I can speak to recently, and that's a real commitment to fundraise, for the hospital. So I also know from experience, and a lot of people listening probably can know too, it's really difficult to do a ton of events with volunteer boards because there's a lot of time committed to that, and most volunteers tend to help in a lot of different areas and just don't have the time that maybe they used to 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
So,
Sure.
But there's a strong commitment to the foundation and to expand the foundation with events and fundraising.
As you come on to this role, again, our guest in studio this morning is Curt Homann. He is the director of the Warner Hospital Foundation in studio with us today. As you come into this role, Curt, what are your goals? What has been kind of set out for you by the foundation board, things they'd like you to really focus on and take on? How about those things?
Yeah. So, clearly the ultimate goal is increased fundraising.
Well, sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. There's a lot of other things though that can be put into place. Maybe some of the like, as an example, the investment guidelines, some of the where we can invest or set aside funds, the policies could come into place where we need to update those. And I think that's an important role, but really just get Warner Hospital Foundation in the minds of individuals.
So raising awareness
is a big part of it.
Absolutely. So, and like I said, it's been some time since we've had the foundation in. What are you finding there? What is the vibe about the foundation in the community as you talk to people, whether it's businesses or folks that may be coming in and out of the facility? What are you finding people think about the foundation?
Yeah. So Well, the foundation is so I think it all stems back to the hospital,
Mhm.
and I really think everything begins there, and it begins with the services, the doctors, and I'll say this from the hospital perspective itself, it has made leaps and bounds, improvements and strides forward in the last several years. So there's been a big expansion of services that are available. Oftentimes people don't think about, someone that's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, it's not a problem to drive, to a bigger community to get to visit a doctor or to
Mhm.
get something done. Well, once you get kind of beyond those ages, it becomes a little more challenging. And I think of my own father, who's in his mid 80s.
Mhm.
It's not easy for him to go to the bigger city. So to have a local resource available with exceptional doctors is really, really critical.
Mhm.
So we take that further. So then, therefore, people's thoughts of the foundation really reflect on the hospital themselves. So
Mm.
if they had a great experience with Warner Hospital and health services, which is more and more and more and more the case, then they're very pleased with the foundation as well.
Right.
So the two
Sure.
obviously go hand in hand. So
Gotcha. Gotcha.
oftentimes, though, people don't realize the need, as we mentioned earlier, don't realize the need that the foundation provides in additional resources.
Well, I'll
So
tell you what, let's take a time out here. Maybe we can dive into some of the things that you're maybe finding the hospital needs or they're talking to you about, just, reconnecting I'm sure the foundation and the hospital have a very good relationship, but having someone to go to like yourself probably makes that, even more seamless, if you will. So maybe we'll dive into a few of those things on the other side of the break. In the meantime, though, Curt, how do folks learn more about Warner Hospital Foundation? How do they support you, or just follow along with the things you're doing? How about those things?
sure, the best way to do that is to follow us along on our Facebook page. So it's a relatively new page. We need people following along as well anyway, but
Mhm.
there's always links and areas to get involved. We'll put some information on the golf outing, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit more
Yeah,
about that too in Glow
I
Bingo.
do. Yep. I want to talk about
And
that.
there's a way to donate directly from Facebook as well. So
Fabulous. Again, Curt Homann is the director of the Warner Hospital Foundation, our guest in studio. And we talk more with him coming up on the morning show, streaming to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agents in Clinton.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Monday. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and wheat all starting the day higher. May corn 7.50 up 8 3/4. July corn up 10 1/4, 7.22 3/4. December corn 6.56 1/4, up 10 3/4. May beans starting the day 16.83 1/4, up 15 1/4. July beans up 18 1/4, 16.64. November beans 14.78 3/4, up 12. May wheat opening 10.94 1/4, up 30 1/2. July wheat up 28 3/4, 10.73 1/2, and September wheat 10.33 3/4. That's up 28. May bean meal 482.90, up 5.90, and May bean oil 73.29, up $1 even. Look at the opening numbers at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Monday morning. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
New trucks and SUVs are coming here at Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. This is Scott Baum. Yes, we have new inventory arriving, and you can see what will arrive right on our website. Just click on the pre-order and reserve tab. From there, you will find vehicles in transit and vehicles in production. Or just call our sales staff and we'll help. Find Silverados, Equinoxes, Blazers, including Tahoes and Suburbans, as well as our complete Buick line of SUVs. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Here's a supply chain update from Dave Jackson, owner of your Clinton Save-A-Lot. As a local store owner, I've learned many lessons from the last 2 years, from keeping my shelves stocked for you to selecting the freshest meat and produce and other items you buy every day. I want you to know that we've utilized our off-site storage facilities to beef up our inventory levels to avoid running out of items you buy. While there's no playbook for what we've all experienced, you have my personal commitment to keep our shelves stocked every day. Your Clinton Save-A-Lot appreciates your business, and we hope to see you soon.
This is The Morning Show on 92.3 FM in DeWitt County, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence, and the WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Curt Homann is the director of the Warner Hospital Foundation, our guest in studio here for this morning. And Curt, we were talking fundraising before we went to break there. You mentioned a Glow Bingo event coming up, and then later in the year, a golf outing coming up as well. Tell us about these two events.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited for both of these events, and they promise to be a lot of fun. Glow Bingo, which is GLO Bingo, is kind of a glow in the dark bingo, and they tout themselves as not your grandmother's bingo. So it's a high vibe experience for anyone that hasn't tried it.
Okay.
But it'll be June 24th. It's actually at the Lincoln Banquet Center in Lincoln, and that's a Friday night. And again, it promises to be a lot of fun. It really is.
Sure. What do you have ready for this event, or is there much put together at this point?
So really, we had it scheduled earlier in the year and needed to reschedule it because of the COVID ramping up. So we're really just now getting into doing a little fundraising and getting the word out about the event. So we were just cleared with our tickets last week. So it's really critical now that we have some sponsors. We have sponsorships available anywhere from $150 all the way up. And tickets are available right now through the hospital. Melissa White is kind of in touch on those, or they can contact me and I can get people tickets, but they're $25 in advance, and that's 10 games of bingo and a chance to win some money. And it really genuinely is a lot of fun.
Awesome. Very good. So put that on the calendar. Anything else with that event you want to mention, Curt?
Yeah, it's really critical for this event that the sponsorships, and I'll be getting out here and then this week and next week to work on some sponsorships. But I really hope that a lot of local businesses will step up in that regard.
You know, one thing is you're talking there, and I apologize for kind of having a squirrel moment here a little bit, but you're talking about getting out and talking with businesses about the hospital foundation. We mentioned at the top that you're also the director of the Dwayne County Development Council. Is it not confusing, but are folks receptive to hearing about both entities when you approach them? One for one day, maybe a day for another. How about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think both jobs are about relationships. And as I've gone in and talked to businesses, the vast majority of the time I've mentioned the dual role. Sometimes I'm there for a very specific reason and I don't. But I want to do that so as not to confuse people when I come back in next time with a specific need, either for the hospital or for DCDC. So
Gotcha.
But yes, I do completely understand that. And I think if people get to like you, people get to know you, then it makes the two roles a lot easier.
Sure. Well, I don't know what is kind of nailed down for the golf outing you mentioned that's coming up in the fall, but what do you have for us there? What's going on? When is it? Where is it? How about those things?
Yeah. So it'll be at the Clinton Country Club. It is September 9th. We do not have a lot of details yet, but I promise to add a few twists and turns in there to make it unlike other golf outings. So we will I don't know what those are yet, but we will always have some fun experiences at our golf outings. So
gotcha.
If you're not typically a golfer, or you've been to several golf outings maybe already, come September, this one will be well worth the time. It will be a fun event regardless.
Sure. Now, you mentioned that the tickets you just got your tickets for the bingo night. Can folks purchase those at this point?
They can. So I don't believe we're on Glow Bingo's website, but we will be here in the next week or so. And it's glo-bingo.com. You can go there and buy tickets directly there in about a week. Or contact me directly, or melissa.white@warnerhospital.org. If you send her an email, she'll tell you how to do that as well.
Sure.
So,
very good. Well, Curt, anything on fundraising, those fundraisers specifically, anything we missed there you want to put out there for us?
No, I don't think so. I think that's it. If you're a Glow Bingo follower, and there are several, we will have food there. You do have to be 18 or older. You probably know that if you're already a Glow Bingo follower. but we'll have, like I say, snacks, and there'll be a cash bar, and again, it's a high energy, a lot of fun event.
Sure.
So check that out, and support your local hospital too.
Very good. Well, Curt, I look at the clock. We've got a few minutes still, and we were catching up in the break about, the difference between the hospital foundation, and you've got a board and answer to them. And also there's the hospital board at the same time. Talk a little bit about, the differences between the two. Is there overlap there at all? What's the purpose of each one of those? How much communication is there between the two? How about some of those things?
Yeah, so that's a great point and a great question. The hospital itself has a hospital board which makes some of the decisions on running the hospital. The foundation board is not that way at all. Certainly we communicate with one another. I do go to the hospital board meetings just so I know the plans for future reference. I don't make any voting decisions by any means, but there definitely is this distinction. The hospital foundation board really is just assisting with raising funds. There's a scholarship, there's some of these events, and that's really the extent of their operations. So it's truly a fundraising arm, and a very, very critical fundraising arm.
Sure. Well, what are some of your goals as you come into this role? Anything you have set out for the foundation and the hospital, the hospital foundation to support the hospital, anything like that from your perspective?
Yeah, we want to, for me personally, the biggest goal is to increase the donations that come in, and to do that in a community effort through fundraising events and raising events, so people can come out and have a good time, and also contribute. There's a lot of times with the awareness, excuse me, with awareness activities, we need to get the word out more about trust and wills, and people leaving end of life donations to the hospital. That's a critical area in itself. So,
well, Curt, I don't mean to do this to you. Got to let you go. Curt Homann is the director of the Warner Hospital Foundation, our guest in studio. Network News is now
the Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W220.